Good evening, November Foxtrot. How are you doing, Lance?
Well, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. No, yeah, good. I was trying to clip a camel back retention clip for the hose onto my lip to see if it would hurt, and it doesn't.
So you were fixing a clip to your camel lips?
No, I wasn't. I was
starting the show early.
It's just an itch I had to scratch. All right.
See a doctor about that. Hi all. Hi Harry. Hi Rage. Hi
Good afternoon,
Kenny.
Matthew.
Hi James C. Hi Matthew McCarthy. And hi.
I keep wanting to say Matthew McConaughey. I'm going to cock up one day.
Andy McConaughey. I have to admit I do think the same every time I see it. So.
Yeah. Fair play. Rage, yes, mate. We've taken your critique on board, mate, and we're acting on it. What can I say?
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
We actually, to be fair, I was reading because a few people.
And it's taken a year and a half.
That's almost 2. It's almost 2 years now.
It's almost 2. Christ, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the people were commenting on. So I don't think you can do it on Facebook, but YouTube you can comment on before the stream actually kicks in. And Lance and I were just reading the comments to each other and playing around with our microphones before the start. So super mature.
Yeah. Before it goes live.
On the subject of microphones, thank you to everyone who commented to me and left me little messages after we'd obviously recorded last week's. I had a slight issue with my microphone being turned 90 degrees. It turns out it makes that much difference. But hopefully,
if you turn your microphone around like that, it doesn't pick up any of your sound.
Yeah, but mine apparently does make a massive difference if I rotate it. So yeah. Awesome. But thank you for letting us know. Hi, Fresh Meat. Hi, Les. Harry says, did my first proper MilSim at the weekend. Sterling Airsoft Op Red Mire at the trees. Thanks, NoFo, for preparing me. Nice. How did it go? Let us know. I've not done the trees myself.
Nicely done, Harry. Yeah, the pictures look good, mate.
Have you done the trees?
I haven't, mate. No, I've not done any Sterling events. Not done any Sterling events yet. I will do. Maybe next year. Oh, here we go.
Hi, Kieran.
One of the only times that's going to happen tonight. Fucking earpiece. Yeah, no, I haven't done it. I'd like to. I'd like to give them a go at some point. But yeah, not yet.
One in the calendar.
Absolutely. Yes, next year, I reckon. One for next year.
Cool. Right, so Pew's news. Have you got any Pew's news?
No purchases this week, mate. I've got some lost property. Some lost property's been handed into the NoFo lost property department. And I think he's on tonight. So I've got a questionable style pen here with multi colours to choose from.
Right.
So there's that. And there's a pucker pad. Pucker notepad. Was found in a chest rig which I lent to someone to use for an event. So I've got it here. You know who you are. You're in the chat. I know you are.
Why is this a lost property thing then? Can't you just...
Well, because they've lost it. And I want them to own up to owning this pen first because it's fabulous. So there we go. A little bit of lost property. New segment of the show. Just add that element of excitement.
We bring you the latest in entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marky Mark, for my belated birthday message. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, how was your birthday?
It was very nice. It was quite a somber day, but the wife made it fun with a nice afternoon tea, a nice spread, and a few glasses of rum, followed by a few more in the evening with a couple of pals at the pub. So yeah, it was all good.
Nice.
Thoroughly enjoyed, mate. Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Rage says that pen looks like a 1980s vibrator.
Yep, you're not wrong, mate. Yeah, the owner. Yeah, well, I'm not going to say any more. Won't say any more on that, Les, will we? Will we, Les?
Andy says, right, I'm off again on our boat trip. See you later. See you all next week. See you later, Andy. Enjoy your holiday.
Yeah. Howdy, cowboy.
Yeah, Cow Bob.
Cow Bob. Howdy, Cow Bob. There's a snake in my boot.
Les just says, oops.
So. Yes, Les. I'll have your pucker pad and not so pucker pen here. Big 4-0 next year. No, it's not. No, that's not accurate.
21 again.
21 again.
I will have to do some sort of like tour around the country, going to different airsoft events for your birthday.
Well, because I'm 40.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, yeah. Hey, everyone.
We have to do 40 events in the space of a year.
In 40 days. No, it's not ridiculous. Yeah. 40 sites in one weekend.
Yeah. You get to each site, you fire one shot, and you have to leave.
Go back in the car. Just drive by them all.
Yeah.
Donut in the car park. Right, next site. Did I get anyone?
So he got a bit of rowdy on his birthday. It was his 40th. He ended up in prison. Why is that? Oh, he was drive-buying with an airsoft gun past random airsoft sites.
Drive-buying rentals at airsoft sites. Yeah, sorry about that. Thought no. What I'm doing anymore.
Right. Oh, so I haven't got any purchases either. To be fair, it's been a bit of a dry week. I haven't really got the money to spend on anything at the moment, to be honest.
Same as that.
One thing I do want to talk about is obviously we've got our competitions. So
up yours, Ratty. Lovely to hear from you, mate.
We've obviously got our competitions running at the moment. So there's the DIY plate carrier. I don't think we've seen any entries for that yet. So please get them in. We've obviously got a Cronus scope and the Edge eyewear and a patch, I believe, with that one.
Patch.
So some exciting little prizes on that one. And then we've also got the ongoing raising money for the RBLI, which if you donate some money, we will then basically furnish you with some raffle tickets, of which we've got lots of exciting prizes. And one of the things I wanted to add is that we have this prize. This is the LIO, the Light Integrated Optic, which was donated to us. I think we've discussed this previously. I've forgotten the name of the person who donated it. I'm very sorry. I'm just finding.
Oh, that was a kind chat from NAF or NAE.
It was. It's just I wanted to specifically name him because he's starting up an airsoft shop. So I will find that out, and I'll come back to that later in the show. This is a light integrated optic, Vism. So it actually has LEDs built into the optic as well. So it's quite an interesting one. I need to find a battery to just test how this works because I'm intrigued myself. But yeah, if anyone's interested, have a little Google. I'll probably post some stuff up. But yeah, so that's another prize going in the pot. So thank you ever so much. Very nice too. Yeah, so that's the prizes or the competition. Sorry, running at the moment. Right, what are we covering in the episode, Lance? You wrote the amazing show doc for this one.
Covering the sort of the essence of patrolling and its benefits and its uses and reasons in events and stuff like that. And sort of why we do it as a gist, and sort of like some sort of tips and tricks and preparations before and after. I was going to say preparedness and preparations. Bit of Croydon Hammond coming in there, bit of a remix for it. Chicken nuggets, yeah, nuggets. There will be nuggets.
Hi, Andrew Taylor. Marky Mark says Pew's news: shooter's belt got delivered today.
Ooh,
very exciting.
Very nice.
To send us some pictures.
Yes.
And then Harry says the trees, bloody tough terrain, massive site, hills were grueling, about 15 vehicles in play, and my highlight was sending a whole bandolier of multi-bang mortars on the enemy PB, all on target. Nice.
Beautiful.
That's cool.
What? Yeah, man, nice. What's that? 11? The bandoliers, what do they hold? 11 or 14?
I think it's about 11.
Yeah, nice.
It's an odd number.
Did you have to piss on the tube halfway through to cool that motherfucker down? Yeah.
Didn't need to, but did it unnecessarily anyway.
Just did it because it's part of the immersion, right? 11, yes, mate.
It was Airsoft Omega, so it was Andrew from Airsoft Omega that donated the light integrated
Airsoft
optic,
Omega, good man.
So, airsoftomega.co.uk, which I don't think is running yet, but will be in the near future.
Yes, cool. So. Look forward to that.
Cool. Right, well, should we get into it? Obviously, we're not being joined by Andy this week. He's still, unfortunately, on holiday.
He's still in Canada, holidaying.
Yeah, that special Texas part of Canada.
He's in the Texas part of Canada. Well, the Canadian part of Texas.
Right, so we're obviously talking patrolling. So the first thing I guess we want to cover is what is a patrol?
Second time tonight I've done it. Bloody earplugs. Sorry. I'm back.
One of those in-ear pieces.
Yeah.
What is a patrol? What's it used for? Why? And what are the benefits?
Well, I mean, for me, the highlighted one for me would be obviously uncovering new ground that has not otherwise been explored yet, or sort of recce'd, if you like, and ensuring like a secure perimeter around your harbour area, or an area that you need to protect. So you wouldn't just put everyone in one little basket. You'd have like a roaming patrol, if you like. So it'd be, I'd say for how would you describe it? Yeah, sort of like obviously recceing areas of the map.
I'd say it's going for a walk to just get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, a lie of the land and and for security as well, sort of thing. Would be the two main ones. Obviously, you've got the others like you've got your actual recce patrol to go out and get eyes on and things like that, standing patrol and things like that. But yeah, that'd be the general bubble of a patrol. Would be to get eyes on the ground and security for the immediate area that you're in.
So we've obviously talked about stag duty previously. I mean, one of the things with having a patrol from a defensive point of view is that obviously you can have you can't necessarily defend a wider perimeter with the same number of people. You know, if you want to say you've got like a 20-man team or 20-person team and you're defending an area, it's a lot more efficient to defend a smaller area with like a fixed position and then have sort of roaming patrols going out and sweeping and sort of trying to intercept the enemy before they get to your position. So there's obviously you got the benefits of that. I
mean, even getting
point, you can also test the enemy's strength as well.
There's almost going out poking your hornet's nest. Do you know what I mean? Just see if you can sort of aggravate a bit, see if you can get a contact, try and get eyes on, count some guns, then sort of report back. Which would be almost like your standing patrol, I guess, in a way. It's almost going out looking for enemy numbers, patterns of movement. Obviously, the MilSims and stuff like that. I mean, from what Harry's described there, obviously that would work amazingly well at a Sterling event if they've got the ground for it. You know, some events obviously you have to do a little bit tongue-in-cheek patrolling because obviously some of the sites aren't enormous. So you can see quite far at some sites, and it's not easy. It's not that hard to work out certain things. But you know, you go through the motions as such. But certainly on large sites, you know, I think patrolling is 100% coming. Or heavily built up sites, you know, lots of vegetation where there is trails and tracks and stuff, and you haven't got a clear line of sight for a couple of 100 meters. Then I'd say patrolling would be essential for them, just purely for getting eyes on and building up a bit of a picture. And it's good for you. It's good for individual taskings for teams within a large sort of like platoon or section, or whatever you want to call it. Your NATO side or your Op 4 side. It's breaking them into your four little fire teams or your 4 platoons, and sort of going out on your various patrols for your different taskings, depending on what they'll be. Whether it's like a mission tasking, you're going to patrol out of your PB to carry out that task, whatever it might be. You also do like a roaming patrol around your harbour area or your PB. Then you've got your recce patrols to go and get eyes on and feed intel back to then build a task in for another team to do. So yeah, I think it's a big part of a structured MilSim event sort of thing.
100%. Rage says patrol equals a tactical ramble. Which
yeah, man.
Don't disagree with that one. James C. Patrolling, a method of movement over terrain with each member observing an arc of fire designed to protect the patrol and enable observation.
My guy.
Bang on one there.
Yep, absolutely.
He also says that's the basic. Depends on type, standing, QRF, recce, combat, clearance. There's one more, but my brain's not recalling it. So.
Yeah, what did I figure out? Was it recce, standing? There was 3. I was known as 3 main ones: recce, standing, and fighting patrol. Was like the 3 sort of main ones.
The combat one.
Yeah, basically you go out of like a full section or a full, you know, like a couple of NCOs and like your full complement of like whether it's 10 or 12-man section or whatever it would be, going out looking for trouble basically. And if you do get into trouble, you've got the means there to sort of deal with it. Whereas like your fighting patrols going out to more get eyes on, and if you do get into a opportune moment, you've got the means to get out of it. And then obviously your recce is to remain completely presence patrol.
There's a presence patrol as well.
Oh, okay. So I guess is that sort of like a static-y sort of in a one location, crossroads or something like that, or a feature? I've not heard that.
I mean, I don't know for the army obviously, but I'm in Airsoft. It obviously enables you to have just boots on the ground. You know, rather than have people just standing around not doing anything. Obviously, allows units of people that are in play that you can then, you know, from a command
I mean, for me as well,
you can act on. It
gives people that obviously as well haven't been to a site a chance to sort of almost visit some areas, some key locations, and get an idea of what it's like out on the ground as well. I think they're particularly effective a lot during the day. It also gives people a chance to sort of get eyes on of any potential hazards that are going to be that don't really come to mind during the day, but are going to be there at night. Sort of like some ditches, where the ground falls away, things like that. Because obviously, daytime there's hazards you'll see during the day you wouldn't even consider as hazards, but then as soon as that nightfall comes down, you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? You've got that foot deep trench or something like that you can quite easily see, but then at night time it's just like, well, where's an ankle breaker right there, or some low lying branches, things like that. Anything that can just snag your goggles, whip them off your face, or get you straight in the eye, anything like that sort of becomes everything's magnetized at night time. You know what I mean? It's amplified a hell of a lot, magnetized. Yeah, night patrols
I mean,
are
for the ditches as well, it gives you somewhere to go as well. So, for example, if you are,
well, this is it. Yeah, you
need to dive into cover, you know that it's there. James C says depends. Can be more likely patrolling into a friendly area to reassure the locals that you're there to support them.
Oh, okay, yeah. So sort of soft hats and sort of stuff like that. Nicey.
Yeah. Kenny says more to show boots on the ground, hearts and minds.
Yeah, cool. Presence patrol, right? Okay, I remember that one.
I want to just dive back because there's an interesting chat happening with Harry talking about his Sterling event. He said he took the PB with 20 plus packs and 9 water, and then 5 minutes later, Op4 took it back with just 2 packs. Proper fucked us up the rear. So nice.
And was there? I mean, so obviously you took their PB, Harry. Was a patrol immediately put out after you took it, or was you all sort of like hunkered in there inside their PB? Or did you get eyes on, sort of thing? Maybe that would be something to sort of bear in mind for next time as soon as you've taken it. I think that's what the crack is. Is that where the standing patrol? So you say you took an area, you'd have like a clearance patrol for it. So you've fought to a position, you've taken it, you carry on pushing through that position, and then you sort of reorg, and then you get a patrol out. So obviously to watch for a counter attack, I suppose, or some description. I'm not 100% sure, but in my mind, I'm sort of thinking that's what would be put in place. Obviously, you've taken that area now, but they're going to be either pissed about it, going to come back,
or still hiding in there,
that's where the clearance bit comes through. Say you take a building, although fair enough, you've taken that building or that compound, but push through it and beyond it for a few meters just to make sure there's not like a secondary other side of the road on a ditch or anything like that. And then obviously you come back and then collapse back on it if you have to, or and then get your sort of roaming patrol out there for a perimeter sort of sweep. Yes. That sounds good, though. Them Sterling events do sound good.
Andrew was on the up for. He said what you needed was a comfy sofa in the PB, not the fob.
Fair play.
So,
why stand when you can sit?
Yeah. Harry also said apparently the tube was hot enough to make a brew after dropping 11.
Fair play, mate. That's what we like.
I do like.
What if you could lay? I'll tell you what. I wonder if you could lay bacon rashers over it whilst it's firing. There's nothing like the smell of bacon cooking. Or a calamari ring.
I mean, that's a very inefficient way to cook bacon. I'm just probably guessing.
No, but I'm just saying, or some
calamari ring. What are you rolling it down the tube?
Rings of calamari over the top, and it's an equal. It'll surely be.
I'm very comfortable with my sexuality as I just roll this calamari down one water tube.
Calamari. Oh, 11 of you. Marvelous.
That's a fishy Bergen. Harry says they hunkered in and set up a perimeter, which Op4 then broke through. 2 crazy dudes laden with bangs, then wiped us out.
Oh, blimey. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So in terms of going on a patrol, from your perspective, what would be how do you start a patrol? You've obviously got your tasking, right? We're going out on a patrol, regardless of what we're going to be doing out on patrol. What's the next step?
Well, obviously you'll be given your brief, what's required of you, what you're asked to do, where you got to go. That's obviously then will be laid back to your section. In my eyes, it'll be, this is what we got. This is the plan. This is what we've got to try and achieve. This is how long we're going to be out for. This is what's required of us to bring or bring back. Any specialist equipment that we need to take with us, what it might be for camera, for photography, or anything like that. Or we're going to go out and set some traps for early evening. We're going to go out and lay a perimeter, some debts or something like that out there. So it's making sure that your section is fully briefed on what your aim is to achieve. Your route of march, where you're going to go in at. I mean, obviously you'll put in like your emergency rally points en route as you go. You'd indicate that if the shit hits the fan, this is our first one, this is our second one, blah 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 It'd just be, for me, it'd just be making sure that everyone's on the same page as to what we've got to go and do, how we're going to do it, and obviously making sure that everyone's squared away before we leave to do it. Do you know what I mean? Making sure all the kit's squared away, all your mags are bombed up, pouches are shut, all this sort of stuff. I'm getting antivirus messages again, Mike. Oh,
it's now to do me.
Oh, but yeah, that's it. Just making sure everyone's on the same page, and those that are obviously going on the patrol are all fully squared away, and it's a nice and crisp. You know, everyone's aware of, you know, the disciplines, especially when it comes to nighttime, your noise and light. A grasp on some sort of very basic hand signals. I don't think you need to be. I didn't do anything then. I literally have not touched anything. This is you, Mike.
It's not to do with me.
Oh my god.
While you're getting that sorted out, I mean, one of the things that I know that we sort of find quite useful is when you're out on a patrol is almost setting like a patrol order. So, for example, your TL or whoever's sort of running the patrol will take the opportunity to establish who's at the point. And that might change depending on night vision capability, thermal capability, and anything like that. So using our DEA event, Defiant, Red Tide, we had, I think it was a unit of about 10 or 12. Hey, come back. We had about 10 or 12, and we spread the night vision between. We had one guy on point with night vision. I think that was yourself, Lance, possibly, because you had the thermal as well. And then we had a guy in the middle, a guy at the back with night vision as well. Everyone else didn't have night vision, but by doing that, it meant that we had a bit of capability. We're all in contact with each other over comms. Everyone knows kind of their order in the patrol then as well. So when you're moving around, you know who the guy in front of you and who the guy at the back of you, behind you is.
Yeah, order of march and all that, and obviously checking the guy to your front, to your rear. You know what I mean? 360 and every now and again, and obviously being aware of them hand signals. And yeah, obviously just having an air of mindfulness about you as to what's. I've nearly done it again. Oh, bloody earpiece. Yeah, just keeping your head on the swivel really when you're out on patrol. You know, looking out for the and anything you spot along the way. You know, if it's a valid reason for calling it in, call it in. You know, send it down the line to your TL or your TIC or something like that, because it might be something that they've missed that you picked up on. And if it's not, if it's sort of importance, you know, I'm sure you'll soon get heckled for it.
Also, I mean,
we looked at that.
Depending on the event, it might even be things like it won't just necessarily be players moving in the tree line. You could have like an upturned bucket, for example. We stopped once to go and basically because we weren't sure if it was an IED.
Well, that was part of the brief before we went out on the patrol.
Exactly.
So,
we knew that was part of that event.
You know.
So it was quite annoying because it turned out to be nothing. And the IED team took a long time to get there to tell us it was nothing. But then that's the whole immersion aspect.
That's it, yeah. You know, one minute you're on a patrol, the next minute you're setting a perimeter around a potential IED, if you like. IED for the threat. Which was cool, you know, and it adds another element to what you thought was going to be a standard sort of like presence patrol, if you like, turned into be sort of like a bit more potential contact there, and you know, obviously, fortunately, it wasn't. No, unfortunately, it wasn't for the excitement side of it, but fortunately, it wasn't, you know, for our team. You know, it was all good, Yeah.
Harry says the Sterling event was it was riddled with det traps. No remote wireless dets allowed due to possible radio interference, setting them off. It was cool patrolling out, laying vehicle IEDs at night.
Yeah, nice, man. Excellent. So, that's really cool. Good.
I do like it when there's IEDs and there's other elements of just rather than it's just literally force on force. You know, you've got potentially traps and bits and pieces that you've got to keep an eye out for.
100%, yeah.
I know was it the last Octo event that we went to where they had? I can't remember if you were there or not. To be fair, I know Wayne and Danny were. They were literally tripwires and that set around. There was a few times where, you know, we were sort of moving through the tree line.
Where was the last Octo event at?
The Battle Lakes. I don't think you were there.
Oh, no, I wasn't there because that was the one you was riding the quad bike, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there for that one. I was away, I believe. I was away on Horribobs. Yeah.
So there was Padre's unit was basically running around setting up Beasley mines against trees and bits and pieces like that with the sort of fishing line, tripwire.
Yeah, perfect.
And
they're
stuff
good.
like that.
They're really effective. They're so good.
It just makes a massive difference when you're walking through a forest. You actually have to keep an eye out on the ground as well as in front of you. So yeah, it definitely adds an element to the game.
The good thing
Should
with
we
those
talk
Beasley alarms is obviously you can set 2 trips off of them. I mean, you could really set 3 if you wanted to. I mean, if you've got a central point, I mean, obviously the kill radius is within 5 meters of it. So obviously don't be a div and make a 15-meter tripwire that someone can trip at 14 meters because that's just going to set off your booby trap and not kill them. So keep it at 5 meters or 4.5 if you want to be super safe. But there's nothing stopping you having a central tree with your Beasley alarm and then 2 lines coming off of it. So then you're essentially 4.5 meters each, where you've got 9-meter tripping area there. So you might not get matey on the left, but you'll certainly get one on the right, perhaps. So that's always something to bear in mind, is having 2 lines coming off the one ring pull. So it don't matter then.
Or the other option is you could set the Beasley mine 30 meters away, run a cable back to your position, and then just.
You can do, almost sort of like Claymore-esque, the old clacker, and just give it a tug. Make sure that you've got to be careful though, especially if you use fishing line. There's not much flex in it. You've got to use a strong, almost use a braid, or even I'd even go as far as if you go onto Dragon Suppliers and order a spool of their comms cord, which is what I've used for my MTP basher for the jungle knots. It's like 1.5 mil. It's really small stuff, but it's wicked strong. So I've just completely done my new basher with that, which I've yet to test out. Actually, I need to go and test that. A little job for the weekend, I think. So but yeah, all good stuff.
Yeah, Les says, Mike, don't forget about the MilSim APOC where we were looking for IEDs. Yeah, so that I think we've talked about that before, but that was the event where we had the Valen there as well, which turned out to be less useful than we thought it was going to be because there's lots of metal in the ground. Because made ground is full of all sorts of bits of screws and metals and things like that. So
yeah, plus you've got ring pulls for days, haven't you? Off of old smoke grenades and stuff like that.
Which with a Valen, which doesn't really discriminate that much for an untrained user, I was just like, there's metal everywhere.
Shit! We walked right into a field.
Yeah. Kenny says as well, pyrotechnic rocket engines, make great perimeter trip mines as trip flares as well. Obviously, be aware of what your site allows you to use. Don't just rock up with shit tons of fireworks, basically, because that can obviously
you must check that you can you're covered to use that there at that site for different bits and bobs. Yeah, always important to check that out.
So patrol discipline. So we've kitted ourselves up. We're all sorted out. We know what order we're in. We're going out on patrol. What are some of the things we need to bear in mind when we're out and about?
I think again, it all comes back to what sort of patrol you're going out on. Like the new one that was it Kenny that mentioned the presence patrol? I think it was
James.
Sorry. Obviously that one there, you're going to be going sort of soft hats, your weapons at ready, but certainly not sort of. I wouldn't say they were shouldered and you're like clearing arcs. And if you're going into a friendly village, even Terry, my son. And again, so you're trying to sort of, it's a hearts and minds thing. You're not going to go in laden with grenades and bloody all sorts on display,
LMGs, mortars, all of that.
Just putting a muzzle into people's faces and that. It's going to be very different. So sort of setting yourself up for that, and then making sure obviously that your section's aware of what you're being asked to do. Because it only takes sort of someone, and it harks back to us. The dicking around when you leave the fob and just oh your gun works. That's just like, don't do that. Make sure it works on the range before you go, or I'm pretty sure if you fired it 2 minutes ago, it's probably still working. You'd be all right, I'm sure. Do you know what I mean?
You'd hope.
You'd hope so. Yeah. I've certainly never seen any sort of like British Army leaving a PB in Afghanistan in the documentary. And go, yeah, still working, lad. Yeah, LMG. You've got no ammo left. But, it's going to make for a lighter walk. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's that, and then again, it's just being clear in what you're being asked to achieve, and making sure that you're squared away. And if you're in a buddy system, making sure your mate in front of you, that he's if he's got a day sack on and his buckles let loose on it, just give him tighten them up for him, or especially at night time, because noise does travel. Noise carries a lot more at night. So you got to make sure you'll be uber quiet. I mean, don't want any of that battle rattle going on. Your keys clinking around and pocket change from the burger wagon clanging around in your pocket. Get it sorted out and put it into a pouch that's going to be secure and stop noise and stuff like that. And just conducting yourself as a patrol. You know what I mean? It makes you feel good. It puts you into the immersion a bit more. If you're going out sort of half-assed, thinking, oh fucking hell, we're doing this, and then you get whopped in the side of the head by a BB because you weren't looking in the area you're supposed to be covering. And then that lays on to 3 or 4 of you get hit out, and then you've got like an 8-man patrol that's got half strength because people are down waiting to get medicked. Potentially one of your medics been hit. It's just a ball aches, so just get into it. That's the main thing for me. It's just just throw yourself into it and enjoy it. It's good fun. It's a good crack. I love doing it. I mean, like, best patrol I've ever done was a recce patrol. We didn't fire a shot, but I think we saw 1 or 2 people. It was like a 4.5, 5 hour patrol at a Legion event. And it was wicked fun. Just moving off slowly, methodically, clearing wood blocks and that, clearing a couple of compounds, hooking back around the back of the village and back up to our PB. It was wicked. I loved it. So good, so good.
I'd be interested to know from those in the chat that have been probably more opt for than sort of blue 4 roles. Do you guys kind of get instructed with how to react to the various patrols and things? So I know that from sort of the blue 4 perspective, when you're out on patrol, ultimately it's an airsoft event. You're there for 2 days. Generally, you know that the opt 4 positions are going to be the enemy. So, you're going to be up against them at some point. They're going to be armed. So there's always that element of, I'm keeping eyes on you. I'm keeping an eye out. I'm making sure that no one's acting suspicious now. But I think that's the one thing probably for me that detracts slightly from the airsoft perspective is that, ultimately with the kind of the arc of the game, you're going to be ending up usually on the Sunday just in a full-on firefight. And there's never enough kind of like NPC interaction. So, ultimately you are 2 teams and there's never enough kind of like middle ground people that you're not meant to shoot. You're probably just going to have like that role play engagement with. So I'd be interested to know from the Op 4 side of things, whether you kind of get that same effect, whether, you have that kind of reaction. I mean, I don't know about you, Lance, but a lot with the role play stuff tends to be more on the earlier side of the events. Yeah,
it's almost establishing a baseline for the story, isn't it? When it first kicks, when you first get that sort of boots on the ground, if you like. It'd be good to see. I mean, like, obviously one event at APOC a few years back, there was supposed to have been a lot more interaction with like NPCs and things like that, which sort of wasn't fed back to the Op 4 side, if you like, correctly. I won't go into details and bore everyone. But if we on patrols and that, we should have been encountering, the random couple of dudes just at the side of the track, not really sure what they're doing there, not really have a great explanation as to why they're there or the reasons for them being there. Do you know what I mean? Things like that were supposed to be in place, which would have made it, wicked to lead on to other stuff. But unfortunately, that wasn't in place. So having those things, having those interactions when you're out and about is always good. It would be quite easy for just having like your farmer, if you like, squat at the side of the road, as you've seen in many of your documentary and things like that, or just sort of pop up and then see guys coming towards him and go, a bit panicky and duck down, because then he could just be placing a explosive or setting an ambush, or he could just be, oh shit, there's a load of armed guys coming towards me. What do I do? Do you know what I mean? And it's then putting into your mind is like, right, okay, we've got a male fighting age. What's his intentions and things like that. And you got.
It always amuses me when we have that at Airsoft, because they're all that.
And it's
for the most part, they're all male. They're all fighting age.
But it's
they're all
that whole
farmer looking for owls.
Exactly, yeah. But it's that whole it's your rules of engagement come into it then, don't they? It's like, well, by rights, he's not armed. He's not shown us any threat. You've got to almost you're walking into it, but you can't do anything about it until it kicks off. Essentially, you could certainly stop and get him to approach you, rather than you going to where he's been, because you don't know what's going to be at that location. I'm guessing, that's just purely a stab in the dark there. I'm guessing that's what I'd probably do, is ask him to approach you rather than you go to him. But then it adds that element to a patrol where you were just doing a standard patrol down a track, but then you come across this now, so you're calling that in, and it's creating potentially another channel for a secondary team to go on. You know what I mean? If you've got some intel out of email, I've just come from compound 5, and you find some bags of wires or something like that, or batteries or something like that, and you can think, well, hello, we call this in. There's a QRF team or a quick hit team going out now to hit that compound, because it could be, it could be explosives or anything going on there. You don't know. But yeah, that's cool. That's always cool. So that's why it's benefit, keeping your head on the swivel on the patrol, looking out for things that wouldn't otherwise be there. It's always good, because it always adds elements to the game, which is more exciting. It's always cool.
I do like it. I do like the whole role play aspect, and when things pop up and it makes you think.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly makes it.
You're not just point and shoot type thing. It's that whole shoot no shoot scenario. As Rage says, some events you do, so Legion tend to tell the Op4 how to behave when civilian population.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess for me, I'd like to see more non-shooting players during the event, and I don't mean people that were shooting 5 minutes ago and now civilians because they don't have a gun anymore. Because
No, that's
there's
bullshit.
a lot of times where,
I still shoot them because it's like, nah,
exactly.
Mate,
Because I've seen them. I know that they shot at me. Like,
yeah, if it's like 2 hours
that.
later, that's a different story. Or 2 or 3 hours later, that's different. You know,
Yeah.
The only critique I've got with some civ pop at Legion is if we do get into a firefight and you've got like 6 or 8 armed combatants at a building, and we get into a contact, but then you've got civilians there that aren't armed, they'll just sort of literally like lean against the wall, like about 3 or 4 foot away from you, and watch you have a firefight. Whereas by rights, you think they'd be sort of ducking for cover or legging it into a building so they're away from it. That's what sometimes I think that's a bit like, come on, guys, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? It just seems a bit weird that there's a guy you're trying to coordinate a firefight, and there's a guy like sit there with a roll up, just like on like a rock, just sitting there, just watching you, like just watching. You know, it's like, no, you should be running away now. All the bombs are going off. You need to run away and hide, please, because it makes me feel awkward.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's difficult because, you know, I mean, ultimately with the whole immersion aspect, you know, a lot of the NATO sides are collecting intel on their opponents. So, you know, we're taking pictures, we're noting certain characters and the like. So it is really quite difficult if you've got someone that, you know, drops in and out of different roles within the same event. Because, for example, you, Lance, you know, do you remember, I think it was James at one of the APOC events, I think he'd quite helpfully come up with like 5 or 6 different characters. And whilst he's, you know, really committed to that, and he's sort of changing the look a bit about each person, fundamentally, it is still him dressed up. And I think for the whole immersion point of view, it's helpful if you have different people. So, you know, once you've identified 100%. Someone as a potential target, they are still a target, you know. But then it's tricky because if you kill them in Airsoft, they're not dead. You know, they just go back and respawn, and then they are back in the game. So are they then a different person? It's this whole.
See, that's where I think it's quite good with gunmen.
Confusion.
Whereas if you do wallop a character, that character's gone. They don't come back. That is that character is then gone. Whether that person comes back as a different someone else, a whole different get up or anything like that, then that's cool. Yeah, but that particular character, once it's been walloped, then that's it. Then it's game over, sort of thing for him, which I think is quite cool. And it's good to have that, definitely.
Kenny's hoping to play an NPC at the next Stalker event, which should be fun. So cool,
nice, like it.
Andrew Taylor says this Vice Sterling. We were allowed to drop weapons and belt kit and walk around as civvies. NATO still shoot us, then it's investigated as a war crime. I think that's part of the problem, is the fact that if you've identified someone who's got belt kit on in one point in the game, and then, you know, 20 minutes, half hour, 2 hours later, you see that same person, realistically, you would be going, they've taken their gun off. That's all they've done. They're still the same person. So, yeah, it's tricky on that front. But, yeah, every game needs a Vern and a Mason.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the patrolling more difficult, and that's what makes it, I think, an essential part for events, especially from a NATO point of view. You know, and like I said back at the beginning, you know, if people are new to a site, it's great, get them out on roaming patrols, get them to patrol to a point of interest on the map, and come back a different route back to your PB. You know, get them used to it, especially obviously if it's going through the night as well. It's only going to help give them eyes on the ground, sort of thing. And then you obviously you can't beat the intel that you'll get back as a zero, or whatever it is, the role that I might be playing for an event or something like that. Getting feedback from patrols that are out there, it helps you build a picture then, which is always a bonus.
Do you want to just go into some of these types of patrols? I know in the show doc you've written a few notes out.
Yeah.
I mean, reconnaissance first.
So yeah, let's check the recce patrol or the recon patrol or recon. Yes, I'll let you have that one. I mean, I did look at it and I said reconnaissance patrols, and I thought they have got something there, the Yanks. it does clearly say recon if you take away the rest of the letters.
Yeah, like Cobcorn.
Oh, Cobcorn. No, I'm not going into that. Yeah. Just out of interest. On a side, do we all say corn on the cob? Just a Y in the chat will be fine.
It's quicker to say Cobcorn.
I've always said corn on the cob. But Mike says cob corn. Was it you had tonight? Baked sweet potato with mince and cob corn.
Cobcorn, yeah. Because it's quicker to say.
No, it's corn on the cob.
Just before we also
it's
get
recce
into the,
and it's corn on the cob. Yes, corn on the
before
cob.
we get into the reconnaissance.
That's the only answer I wanted. Rage's one. As long as Rage says yes, then it's all good.
Before we get into the reconnaissance patrol, I know Terry and Rage were mentioning something about a patrol rehearsal. Could you put a little bit of information in the chat, because I'd like to come back to that. Corn on the cob. I know it's corn on the cob, but it's quicker to say cob corn.
Yeah, but that sounds weird, because you've never said cob corn before. Cob corn. It's just the weird. The more I say it, the weirder it is. It's like if you keep saying corn.
Terry says corn on my knob. Nice.
Boom, boom. It's clearly corn on the cob. Thank you, John. Corn on the cob. Yes, corn on the cob.
All right. Reconnaissance patrols. Let's go.
So yes. So your reconnaissance patrol or your recce patrol. So basically, it's a very minimal team. You know, like you'll have like your 2IC and a couple of bods, couple of riflemen, perhaps. Corn comes on the cob. Just thought it was Green Giant can. Green Giant. Love it. And obviously, a recce patrol will be put into a situation where they need to be very, very quiet, very, very secretive, get into a position to observe enemy movements or a location where enemy are patrolling to or leaving from, to get either eyes on a specific target, specific intelligence, photograph, recce troop numbers, vehicles, anything like that at all, in a way of not being seen whilst they're infilling and exfilling. So literally no one ever knew they were there, but they've gathered a shit ton of intel on an enemy position or an activity of some description, that's something that's happened or carried out, or providing eyes on for a fighting force that are coming up on one of their flanks or something like that. So they've got eyes on the ground ahead of the main force coming in, which is always good, which is more like, I'm guessing, sort of like your sniper teams or your Pathfinder type thing. In the real world, I'm guessing, fucking please shoot me down if I'm wrong, which I probably am. But from an airsoft point of view, yeah, recce, you'll be going out getting eyes on, need you to ID this target or this person, feed it back to us, where they've gone, where they've come from, how many people they got with them, this, stuff like that, weapons and things like that people are carrying. And from a MilSim point of view, that's pretty much it for a recce patrol. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's going in without being seen, observing, and then exfilling without being seen. Back to your PB or back to your fob to relay the intel you gathered out on the ground, which would be cool. Or even going out with a little drone and sending that up and feeding it straight back to zero. That'd be quite cool. Just watching it live on the screen, sort of unfolding. That'd be quite cool. I'd like to do that. Yeah, so that's sort of like your basis of a recce patrol. I mean, Mike, have you had any situations where events we've been to where that's been sort of called into practice and you've been out on one?
I don't think we've ever done any particular recce patrols. I think it's generally been patrols and then just obtain any information that you can. If that makes sense. So it's rather than going out with the specific task of keeping an eye on something. That being said, it's well within my understanding of how to play airsoft in terms of, that's something that we can do. We've just never had that specific tasking, basically.
To be fair, I mean, a lot of the time when we've been to events, the last Legion event, we were 14 up, weren't we?
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite
it's a bit of a pointless
14 people
a recon patrol.
Well, no, you probably get 14 on a recon patrol because that'd be American and noisy and not very good.
Exactly. Well, that's what I mean.
If it was a clean cut recce patrol,
it would be just like a load of tourists just running around, just taking pictures of everything. It would just be.
Oh my god! Look at that guy.
Yeah.
Mind you, that could be a very cloak and dagger way of doing it. Just go, hey, you guys! It's going to take a few snapshots here. My camera.
One thing I was just while we were just talking about that, one thing that just sort of came to mind is a question I'm going to throw out there, which is if you're out on a patrol and you are taking photos, you're like the designated person to take photos on your phone or a camera or something like that. Do people generally tend to delete the photos if they die, or say that camera never makes it back with an alive person. Does anyone go to the effort of actually deleting those photos? Because I'm just thinking that should be done, really. Like if those photos are...
Well, it depends if you've been blown up or not. Because you're still taking a picture, even if you've been shot. As long as you've been shot after you took the picture, then the camera's still there, isn't it?
Because to me, that'd be a brilliant op for tasking. In terms of, right, if anyone's taking a picture of us, we need to kill that person and take the camera off them, or delete the pictures or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout. I mean, I certainly agree if someone's been blown up with intel. I mean, literally all events would be if you're blown up and you're carrying in-game equipment or something.
Assets
assets. That is then null and void now. That's been blown up. So whether you leave it on the ground where you were blown up or it gets returned to an event staff member and then it gets put back into game somehow, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's a good shout. It's a good point to make. I mean, I'm sure if you were captured and they said, and you have been out on a patrol and you have gathered intel, then I'm sure they might be able to introduce a method of saying, any intelligence you've gathered out on the ground or blah blah blah, some speech they've got to make to you is now, a null and void. Any photographs you've taken from the point of where you've come out. Not saying that you've gathered intelligence from yesterday, which is sort of still on your phone, but it's already been handed in. That doesn't matter.
It's just an interesting point. I mean, maybe it's something for game organisers to sort of take on board and actually equip teams with a camera.
So Kenny's really dissecting this cob corn. If the cob is the internal part of the corn on the cob, how can the cob be on the corn?
It's cob corn. So it's corn from cob.
But the corn is on the cob, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like car wash. You wash the car, but it's still a car wash.
Or did you have the corn from the cob?
Oh, I don't know.
Was the cob still there when you ate it?
I think we can chat about this next week on the general Q&A. We'll bring that one back up. I think, going back to the camera point of view, I think it would be an interesting thing to actually equip teams with like some cheap digital cameras, maybe. And then it could be a case of, opt for, because again, this is hard for me because I've only really attended games as either Blue 4 or a PMC element, never directly opt for. And it's something I actually genuinely want to do soon because I think it would be a proper laugh to do it. I always look and see the opt for generally probably having more fun sometimes than NATO. But maybe it's something that as a task.
I think an opt for side, yes, it's a bit more free and easy, isn't it? Yeah. From an opt for point of view, that'd be cool. I'd like to put my AK out in the field and get some mud in it as well. I know that much.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Just do that the weekend. Do you want to talk about standing patrols?
Yeah. So standing patrol is very much a similar. Well, it's not really your presence patrol. Your standing patrol. Sorry, my phone's going mad because my daughter's at Scouts tonight and they're caving, so I'm getting about 900 photos sent to me at the moment, just for my notes. So it's kind of like a light recce, if you like. You're sort of like into an area of like unpatrolled ground, listening out for enemy movements, watching for any troop transports, things like that, weapons being taken from here to there, resupply routes, things like that. And basically it's almost like holding new ground as a standing patrol, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, Kenny, James, Les, Terry, Rage, all the guys that have got loads of experience with it. James is the man. Yeah, that's what I can gather from a standing patrol would be sort of like a light recce patrol. I think you have additional guys with you for that because obviously you can get into a contact, or if the opportunity arises for you to do something, then you've got the capabilities to do it. Whereas a recce, it's very, very small, very clandestine, in and out, no fucking about sort of thing. Just get you in, come back. Whereas the standing patrol is more of a combat ready recce, if you like, which is holding a bit of new ground just to sort of test the waters almost, I'm guessing. From what I can gather from a bit of reading that I've done up on it and stuff. Whether that comes into MilSim or not, let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, when I've done rotations for a team, it's been you've gone out on a mission tasking, which would obviously involve a patrol to a location. We go out on a combat patrol, which is basically just a patrol of a designated area, like a grid sweep. And if you do come across some targets which are fair game, then yeah, by all means engage them. Obviously, report back your findings, and that can obviously lead on to a tasking when you're out in the field. Or you might find that it might involve dropping into a recce situation where you think, look, we've just gone to ground, we've got eyes on this. You've then gone from being in a fighting patrol to a recce. 2 or 3 of you push forward. You're leaving sort of 5, 6 guys back, sort of guarding the rear, while the other 3 going up on that recce basis, sort of thing. So that does change elements of any patrol within a MilSim. I think it's hard to sort of pigeonhole. I think the main ones for me would be your recce one, and obviously like your fighting patrol or a general patrol for a MilSim. But then I like the term of that presence patrol that James mentioned earlier, as a way of saying you're going to patrol through a village or a civilian air centre or something like that. There's a bit of nicey, fist pumping and stuff like that, which is quite cool. But yeah, standing patrol. I think in the main terms, I think James
we used to call it our Frank Spencer patrol, didn't we? Because it was like we had the
Did we?
we had those stupid black berets.
Oh, those! Oh my God, I didn't even wear it. Them ones you. Oh my God, no! They were like a faux speaker material.
There was something wrong with
They
them.
were
They
a
weren't quite
fire
right.
hazard, man. You could stand in the sun and this thing would just go. I was like, no way, I'm not wearing it. I'm not wearing it. Let's just get khaki ones and be done with it.
Yeah. Kieran says,
but that was the
standing
idea
patrol.
behind our berries, wasn't it? It was the whole soft approach, and then changing them to be able to do the bull. For that purpose only. I thought they were quite cool as well. So they had a little Punisher badge on there.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely didn't in any way try and replicate actual serving units because we're very much against that. But it was a nice alternative to sort of trying to make it look like.
Who Betty? I think there's pictures of Mike in one. I'm sure I know he's got. Actually, I might have them on my phone. I'm gonna have to have a look back through.
Yeah. Kieran says, standing patrolling the perimeter of a fob.
Okay, right, standing patrol, yeah. See, I thought that was a roaming patrol. Oh, well, fucking see. I don't know. Standing, roaming. Patrol around the fob.
I want to just talk about patrol rehearsal patrols. So, sorry, I've just lost it. Terry says, that's where you practice patrolling. That's where you practice patrolling actions on drills, contact left, right, all-round defense, and actions on the objective.
So like a pre, so you rehearse before you go out, sort of thing, so everyone knows their positioning, and sort of like their sort of stand to positions.
That's the sort of thing. To be honest with you, I would like to learn as sort of like I say training, but I'd like to just get a little bit more genned up on some of this because I mean I'm letting you do a lot of the talking because I don't know a lot of this myself. I've obviously can talk about my experiences and what I've done. But yeah, it's the sort of thing that I'd love to do at some point. So maybe we're just going out with.
Well, that was what's great with absolutely, yeah, totally be up for that. But it was good when we did our little NoFo event last year, didn't it? When we had Tom gracious, thankfully he come along and he done some training, some bit of actions on targets and that, and assaulting enemy positions, things like that. And that apparently, that went down really, really well. It's it was really good. It was really good to see. So I don't think there's any harm in it at all. How far you want to take the training. I mean, so I know some people are sort of like religiously training like that, but I don't think there's absolutely long and getting your team together, going over the woods for 24 hours or 48 hours with someone who's very, very knowledgeable, like lots of Terry and a few of the gents in the chat there, and learning a few bits and bobs. It's only going to make the game more fun for you.
Test your kit and stuff as well. It's quite useful.
Oh, mate, any excuse to get out of the woods really and have a cook up and a couple of beers. Look at the kit and what you got new, this, that, and the other. It's like. Yeah. When you're fishing, you're like, oh, look, new fishing tackle in the little secret box. What have I got? Me and Dan are terrible, mate, if we go fishing. It's like, I bought some new rigs and I bought some. Look at these. Don't tell anyone. This is what's going to catch the fish. This is it. And then 9 hours later, you're sat there pissed out your face because nothing's happened.
Yep. But you're just driving the little the feeder boat just around the lake.
Oh, the bait boats, mate. No, I've not gone that far yet. Not that far. Christ, no.
James says, if you want to learn about patrol, there's a few great videos on patrolling and attacks. If you look at the old British Army training videos, there's one on recce's, section attacks, and there's a few others. Rehearsals are generally a step-by-step tabletop walkthrough, throughs of what you're about to do. Covers actions on who will do what, where, when, and how they had to do it. So I mean, that's exactly the sort of thing from not necessarily rehearsing in person, but I know that whenever we did anything. in the last few events. It's something we've sort of rolled out recently, but we do have these sort of pre-briefs before we go out on a tasking, and then obviously the debrief when you get back. And the pre-brief is not just, right, we're going here, and then we're going there, and then we're going to go do this. It's more in depth. It's like, right, you need to bring this. We're going to work together. This are the 2 sections that we're in. And it's useful because it just makes you gets you in the frame of mind for what you're about to go out and do. I have seen some teams take it a little bit far, in that they, I think it was it Charlie Gaines' team? In my mind, don't get me wrong, if you want to do it like that, and I'm only calling out names because I did find it a little bit funny, but they were like proper, like, it was almost like a rugby game or something like that. They're all like huddling up, like, going, yeah, and it was like, okay,
we should do that. We should do that. But normally before we go on a patrol, we have a barbecue, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's usually me and Mike stood by the grill going, yeah, steak, yeah, gal,
food,
gal, food, yes. They're just walking down a hill going, oh, I need a poo. Oh, I need a poo. It's not like that. Only sometimes it might be like that.
Yeah. Fighting patrols.
Moving on. Yes. Fighting patrol, yeah, is what it is. Going out looking for a scrap. Take all your lads, take all your guns, take all your bombs, take all your things, and throw them all at the enemy. Go out looking for trouble, stir the hornet's nest. That's basically it. The best one there is.
Yeah.
You're going out on a fighting patrol. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fighting patrol, combat patrol, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's the one where you're going out sort of like tooled up. No nicey, no softy. The enemy is in this area. Go and find them. And
Cam cream up. Mike Brewer says, I'm ex-RAF Reg. What's a patrol? Is it like lifting a barrier?
Similar, very similar, yeah.
Patrol, Mike, is like a diesel. You put it in your car.
Yeah, it's like walking the ladder out to the aircraft, but there's a few of you doing it. I'm guessing. I shouldn't say that. It's rude. Sorry, Mike. I love you.
I do too. Kenny says it is sweet when you have a patrol that works almost instinctively.
It is. It's a happy feeling. It's good feelings.
Les says, we as a team have done a fair few skills and drills weekends away. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you look at some of the teams that go to these
events. Much of which is noted in your pen and notepad here, Les. Bad admin. Badmin.
Yeah. He's just writing down people's names. Like, take that person's name.
At the moment, I'm drawing a massive willy on every page.
You do look at some of the events, some of the teams at the events you go to, and I think that there's 2 elements for me that make people stand out. It's either that they're running around in super Gucci kit, and let's be honest, you kind of always look at those and go, "Oh, I'd love one of those."
Like a tree.
And then you've obviously got the teams that genuinely just work well together. It's not necessarily that they're all kitted up or stuff like that, but their comms are on point. They're not just running around like headless chickens.
Obviously, me, you, and David got into that scrap with Ryan, didn't we? At Legion. I mean, you've got to class that as a clearance patrol. I mean, I don't know what you call that. We went from building to building, just bosh. I mean, that was brilliant. And we'd not really done that before as a team.
No.
It took the first building. We sort of found our sort of bearings. It's like, right, we've got to cover that angle there. Come round, right? You get a Mark 5 in, bosh, and then it's into the doorways. And by the second house, we were sort of like, yeah, we got it sort of nailed now. It was really good. That was quality. But one of the best bits of that event for me was doing that house clearance stuff. That was really good.
And that was annoyingly right at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, it's like, we were knackered, man, weren't we? Yeah. Proper creamed. But it was so good.
And that was where I fell over and gave myself an edema.
Oh yeah, that's where you literally pile drive through that pile of rubble.
Yeah.
And I was just stood there and cover like, "Are you all right?" And you're like, "Yeah, fine. Go team, go team."
Terry says, I did Tin City in Lid and height with the TA. Took my helmet off to talk to a civvy, and then on the debrief, an officer tried to say it was wrong. My reply was that I'd only come back from the NI 2 months ago. So, fair enough. You can't.
What was that to show? Sort of like you'd removed your lid just to show a bit more friendliness. Yeah. And less aggression, I suppose. Yeah, fair play. Make the headbutt cleaner. That's what it was, I reckon. Just going to take you whack.
Bang. James says standing patrol. I was taught it as your standing ground, waiting to go out if needed. It can be a form of backup to hold ground that's been taken. So
Standing patrols.
I have to admit, I do like episodes like this where we I'm not going to lie, we lean quite heavily on the experience of our
Absolutely. No, I love it.
We don't know what we're talking about sometimes, and we can talk from the bits we do know, but you guys sort of fill in the gaps. And
yeah, absolutely, mate. It's all from a MilSim point of view, or and what we interpret for ourselves. It's correct, or from an airsoft perspective. But hearing it from the horse's mouth, better horse's mouth about patrolling. I'll fucking tell you about it, son. Right? That's what I like. They all sound like that. All of them, they all sound like that. If you speak to real life, every single one of them sounds like that.
Yeah.
Especially Rage, got a right fucking London accent, all right, son. Again,
It definitely doesn't sound like a southerner.
He's just currently punching his TV at home. He's like, shut the fuck.
Rage says, are you going out to engage an enemy to then call in QRF to kill them? Or are you going out to engage and destroy the enemy? There is a difference.
Destroy every time. Every time.
I mean, I guess the first one of that perspective
is like, yeah, we've all been shot. Can we have QRF, please?
Yeah. Well, that's, to be fair, a lot of the QRF is just we need an extraction.
Yeah. There's a lot more than we expected.
Not just for our I don't just mean for our team, but that generally tends to be what I've seen QRF to be required is, can you just come in and help? We're massively overwhelmed. It's not like
there are many, many more of them than we thought. Hello.
So I guess the first one on that is probably more like the reconnaissance role, is it?
Oh, what do you mean? What Rage is coming?
You engage the enemy and then call in the QRF to kill them, and then the going out to engage and then destroy the enemy. That's probably the combat patrol, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, they're both fighting patrols. It's just whether the fighting patrol is going to go out and literally just, poke the hornet's nest, puts down some suppressive fire, whilst the QRF acting as another patrol, switch around the flanks or goes to the higher ground and then just pummels them with whatever it is they've got. Harry could be on the hill with his mortar, just waiting to get a bead on him, and it's just like, go on, Harry, have at it. Or is it a case of going out as your combat patrol or fighting patrol? And then when you do engage, just pushing through their position, bit of bounding, bit of pepper potting.
Terry says QRF is quick, run fast, and then Rage says I'm not a Cockney.
He's not a Cockney.
A lot of patrols in Afghan were to find and engage an enemy, and then to call in a larger fighting force to kill them.
Fair play, yeah, that could work well. But and to be fair, that normally does occur on a MilSim event. You'd get into a contact, and it'll be just so happens there's another patrol in the area, which happen to be out on the right or left flank, which do get sometimes, in some cases, do get rerouted to your position, and you can then liaise with that team leader of that patrol to sort of like pincer movement and sort of come in at them from two sides almost, which is always well handy. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, chaps. Good stuff.
Terry says, yeah, to be more approachable with the helmet.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough, mate.
And Fresh Meat says, don't forget your 249 Overwatch at that point.
Absolutely, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Night patrol discipline. Should we just cover that quickly? I'm conscious of the time.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, cool. So that changes things up, doesn't it?
One thing that we just haven't discussed, I think, up until now is spacings, sort of specifically. So for newer players, when they're out, on a patrol, you will probably get shouted at, watch your spacing. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically the idea that you're trying to create some distance between the person in front of you and the person behind, so that you're not just all grouped up in clusters. You're not just walking along having a natter with your mate, but it's to deal with the fact that if your patrol comes under fire, from a grenade or direct fire or indirect fire, anything like that, if you get down on the ground, it gives you an element of spacing so that you've got a bit of room around
to
you
maneuver
that you
yourself.
can maneuver in. But then similarly, if the person in front of you gets shot, it gives you a little bit more of a reaction time to hit the deck before that field of fire might hit you. If you're all clustered up, it's a lot easier to take out multiple targets.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
that's
And
generally
the
what
whole grenade
spacings
thing,
are.
like you said, mate, absolutely right. So it's like a 9 times out of 10 at an event, it's 5 meter kill radius for an explosive, whether that be a grenade or whatever. So if you keep 5 meters of space between you and the guy in front, if he gets tripped on something or something goes off, you know, there's a lot less likely to kill sort of 4 or 5 of you that are all bunched up and literally arm's length from each other. I mean, obviously that will change at night time. You will reduce that down at night purely for in case that not everyone's got nods, and you can sort of keep that silhouette in front of you of the guy you're following. But definitely during the day, you know, 5, 6, 7 meters apart is a perfectly good spacing, just for, like Mike said, creating that space and be able to get into cover and checking your arcs and stuff like that. You know, it's always good. And then and if it does bunch up, you know, just if you do find yourself going within that sort of 5, 6 meters, just take a knee. The patrol behind you stops. You give that guy a chance to clear in front of you a bit more. Then you carry on moving. You know, and then by the time you've got that nailed down, everyone in the patrol should see that. Oh yeah, they're bunching up a bit. You know, I mean, obviously, I think that motion there is spacings. If someone turned around to you in spacings, you know that's, you know, create more space between the two of you.
I'm normally like spread out.
Spread out. Guys, spread.
Before as well, I'm just conscious that the night patrol disciplines is sort of feeds into that. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the actual configurations that we use? So these aren't necessarily, these are based on sort of real steel methodology, but we obviously have sort of different configurations and stuff that we walk in.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're very bait. I mean, you're not likely. I mean, if there's different formations to use, you know, like the likes of like your spearhead and your arrowhead and things like that, you're not very likely to use unless you've got big wide open spaces that like fields you're crossing or big open. We've done that once, I think, at where was it now? Was it the Aversley site for gunmen when we cleared that wood block and we had that huge field to cover? So we sort of went into a wide spearhead formation.
No, that was.
It wasn't gunmen. It wasn't. Oh no, it was. It was
Ultimate War Games.
Ultimate War Games. It was there. Yeah, Ultimate War Games. So we used it there, and that's pretty much the only time because we've had that open field section there that we had to cover. And that was cool. It was good to do that. But look, sort of 9 times out of 10, you know, you've got your basic file. You know, you've got your staggered file for covering tracks and things like that, where you'd have basically a zigzag of personnel down the lane sort of thing. So you'd have your point man on the left side, and then 5 meters back on the right, 5 meters back on the left, 5 meters back on the right, blah 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 blah. And obviously your night patrol is mainly going to be single file anyhow because it's night time, you know. And then through wood blocks, you know, you're getting into your extended lines and pushing through a tree line. There's a sort of like a one big force, one big line. We've used that a lot, and that's worked very, very well. That's worked very, very well when we've come up against snipers in woodland. As soon as we get that sort of one round coming, everyone's just like right out, extended line, and you just sort of press the target, you know, put pressure on it, you know, get inside that minimum engagement distance, and then it's sort of like a bit panicky stations for the sniper then, which is always good, you know, bounding forward a bit, dropping rounds down, try and get a bead on where they're coming from.
Bounding,
helpful.
something we've used quite successfully at Legion as well.
Yeah, that's been really good. Yeah, yeah. When we took the sound
boundings where you've effectively got 2 sections. First section moves forward while your second section provides cover fire. They then hit the deck. They're then providing cover fire for the next section to move up, and you're basically sort of staggering your way towards the enemy position.
Always good, always good.
So cool. Right, in which case, let's get onto the night patrol then. Because one of the things I want to talk about is obviously some of these things change between day and night. So, for example, your spacing will probably get a bit closer. Especially if you haven't got guys with nods on, because I've been to some events where literally we've had to hold the shoulder of the person in front because it's pitch black.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Proper pitch black.
If you've got cloud cover, you've got new moon, cloud cover. You're in a tree, a forest area that's got a full canopy, for example. Then it's black as night. It like literally is like you can't see nothing. We tend to find that the tiny little fishing chem lights, which last for 2 or 3 hours, you can literally have sellotape them only about 20 mil long, 25 mil long.
Yeah, the tiny
things like that.
Maybe an inch at most.
You could literally just have like a couple of mil showing at the end of it, and then just like sort of black tape the rest of it up, put it on the back of your boonie, just so you got that guy behind you who's got a reference point. It's like there's my man there, so let's follow him. You know, it is difficult. It is difficult at night time. On the SEO event we done a couple of months back, the guys that were with me, brilliant. You know, we didn't have nods, didn't use nods. I had my thermal scope, never used it all weekend. We just sort of allowed ourselves that time. It's like we're going out in half an hour on a night patrol. All white lights gone now. You can keep your noise to a minimum. Let your eyesight adjust. Luckily, I think we did have a bit of starlight. I don't think we had a full moon, but we were quite lucky because the area we were at, the tracks were quite wide. There was clear sky above us, so you could clearly define trails. But when you got into the tree line, it was darker. But the white light discipline was brilliant. As soon as we could identify the enemy target, it was just like lights on and then lights off. It wasn't just a complete constant shining lights there. We were cutting them out, moving, and then just moving position, fire and maneuver all the time. It was, and like speaking to Terry after, he said it's the best white light discipline I've ever seen at an event. So it's really beneficial. You're not walking around with a lightsaber on, just like shining it up and through the trees and everywhere in your mate's face, and it's just like a good one.
Ray says night patrol should be conducted with a 5,000 lumen head torch on all the time. Should be shining everyone on your patrol's eyes at least once.
Absolutely, yeah. Or when you look at yourself, and goes, "This on?" Oh my god. It's there's a lot. I think there's a bit more prep that goes into it at night time. You could go real into it. Like all these shiny items and things like that, and even applying your cam cream. Get the shine on the old bonts there. Dulling all that down, and obviously keeping the noise to a minimum as well. A minimum. We struggle,
especially on comms. Like the number of people that are just using comms unnecessarily. There's
no need for it. I mean, by rights, if you're in an 8-man section, your 2IC and your team leader should really just have comms. Perhaps your medic. I don't see why everyone needs to have comms on them all the time. I get, obviously, you have your personal role radio, your own individual section comms maybe. But then that just gets abused. Sometimes it just gets abused. People start dicking around. And I get it's a laugh. Oh, Mike's just muted himself. I do get it's a laugh. But there's a time and place for it. And especially if you're trying to achieve something and it's sort of you trying to dick around and have a laugh is sort of the detriment to everybody else. That's a bit of a dick move, really. So, yeah, it's just being aware of keeping it quiet and just moving slowly. Even during the day, like with that, the slow movements, like coming up out of cover, don't just go like a meerkat and then straight back down again. It's that slow, gradual movement. Get eyes on very, very slowly, just to see what you're doing, and then move away very, very slowly. It's a lot harder for someone to spot a target that's moved like ultra quietly and ultra slowly down into bushes than it is just someone just suddenly just pop up out of nowhere and go, what? Just bear that in mind. But night time's a different beast altogether. The hazards and stuff like that. Like we said earlier, small ditches and things like that, which you wouldn't think twice of during the day, apart from there's a handy bit of cover. Night time presents like a ankle breaking territory. Low-lying branches.
Trip hazard. You've got falling over, making loads
everything
of noise.
Gets tripled at night time. The problems, the noise, your noises you make get louder. Well, no, the noises you make don't necessarily get louder, but they travel further. There's more defined noises where they're coming from. Walking through a woodblock that's just got loads of fresh, dry leaves on it, it's going to be a ball ache anyhow. There's only so much, there's only quiet you can be. That's what we found at this private site for the SEO event a couple of months back. It was hard to navigate through woodblock without treading on leaves because they're everywhere. The only thing we had on our side was there was a lot of game trails there, so the deer had cut a lot of trails through the woodland, which was pretty handy. So once you could identify them, and the good thing is that where they'd trodden it down so much, and it sort of like exposed the clay underneath the leaves, it almost got glowed up the pathway a little bit for us, and it was like that's like proper handy because you can just see this path winding through. Obviously, you still have to watch out for the branches and stuff like that, but it did make it a bit easier, a bit quieter. But yeah, it's just your night disciplines, really, guys. Just thinking about that. The big one for me is noises and the white light, just keeping them to a minimum, And if you're unsure about something, just take a knee and stop,
So I was just going to say, in terms of the little, we were talking about the fishing floats, little kind of glow sticks that you can use. So Kenny said that he's got some of those little glass radioactive ones that last like hundreds of years. I think
I've got them.
I've
got one on my Bergen, which is like an everlasting one, and I've got a couple of little tiny little lilac ones. They're like little screw-on, almost like a way to describe it is the old pet ID tags. You used to have a little screw on the old cat's collar, and you get a little paper address or phone number on it. Very similar to that, but it's basically like an everlasting chem light. Which are always cool.
The other ones you can get as well, which Harry mentioned, was some luminous cat's eyes for the back of the boonie. £4.50, very helpful. So that's something very similar to these. This is just basically a little strip of like the glow in the dark material, basically. that just obviously picks up light during the day, and as the night goes.
Yeah, we can get a British Army
qualities.
band. You can get a cat-sized
different
band.
qualities of these with the cat's eye as well. So obviously you get some that just literally are like the reflective ones. If you shine a light, they reflect. These are actually glowing. So it depends. Just bear in mind that whatever you've got on you, you need to be able to cover it up potentially. Because if you're obviously under an enemy patrol and they're sweeping around with headlights, then all of a sudden, or not headlights, but torches and things like that, and you've got these two whacking great glowing things that are either reflecting the light back, or that you can see that potentially is something to bear in mind. The little glow sticks, because you're only covering like 3 mil maybe of light you've got showing. It's very hard to see that. Meant for fishing alarms and stuff. So, you still there, Lance?
I'm here. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I just
sorry,
muted
it
my
just got
mic.
very quiet. I was trying to find audio would cut out.
Yeah, no, not at all.
There was a couple comments as well. So, Terry says, before going out on patrol, the section commander would check every rifleman, make them jump up and down and listen to noise individually.
Mm-hmm.
Rage said, to be fair, Terry, that when you were in that plate armor was noisy, as were your spears. He then said, Terry, serious question, how much ammo did you have to carry with you for your muskets at Waterloo? And Terry said, Rage, I had to blacken my pike. So
I had to blacken my pike.
Sorry, I had to get that in there because it was making me chuckle.
Love them. Gotta love them. Phrase of the night, that's got to be. I Rage, I had to blacken my pike.
James says, if you watch the old recce video, they walk hand on shoulder due to the terrain, apparently.
Well, yeah, it's understandable. Definitely, mate, definitely.
Here we go, Rage. One thing I do notice is people don't value their own night vision, giving themselves 30 minutes in the dark so their eyes get used to it. People just shine torches every 5 minutes. That is so frustrating, especially when you're just about to go out on patrol. You're lining up, you're getting yourself squared away and sorted out and ready to go, and then you've got some knobhead running around with like a torch, like, I can't see to go to the toilet. At least use a red light. At least you don't need a bright white light necessarily for going to the toilet. Use a red light, you'll be fine.
Yeah, or even if you've got a little handheld torch, just literally sniper tape it over and just put a pinprick in it. If you want it for map reading or reading any intel you've got to read off a map or documentation or anything like that, just a sniper tape the whole lens up, but just put a pinprick of through the tape, just so you've got that little tiny little bit of white light bleeding out. Because
I wouldn't even do that. Just you can get the little red lights and stuff like that. Like
I don't think they said the red light, obviously, because it's harder to be seen and things like that. But obviously, then if you are looking at a map like a bigger scenario, if you like, and there's waypoints and things like that, a lot of stuff is marked on the map in red. I'm not sure if it's roadways or pathways or
buy a black pen.
Whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
find
that a red line or is that a red line?
the red light obviously massively helps in terms of maintaining your night vision. It's all to do with biology and stuff like that. But yeah. Kenny says mark one eyeball is good if you just let it adjust, like Rage said, and closing one eye to preserve it when polluted.
Yeah, absolutely. So, always close your shooting eye if the white light flashes on.
And James says, don't put cam cream above the eyes, as when it sweats off, it will go in your eyes, which causes serious irritation. Which
that's a fair one.
Yeah.
Unless you got massive brows like me, which seem to capture most things, really, I suppose.
Sharpie. Job done.
Sharpie.
There you go. Lance, cover yourself with a poncho. That's the other thing as well.
That yes, mate. Yeah, I love that bit in Band of Brothers. Was like got a raincoat and he's getting his little pocket button in out of his zipper on his trousers, and the both blokes are like, "What are you doing?" It's like, ducks under there. Yeah, it's cool. I like that. Defo.
Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much everything covered for this evening. If you've got anything you want to add, feel free to do so in the comments. Or so you can send us a message or an email, and we can obviously pick that up and add that to next week's show. You can get in touch with us on our email, which is nofochat@hotmail.com. Instagram is @November_Foxtrot_NoFo. And our website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. One question we had come in from Rage earlier was, how much have you raised so far for the RBL? So we have raised to date. I have lost it. we have raised very kindly with the generous donations of £320. So we're aiming for a £500 target. And so with 14 supporters, we've got to 320, which is awesome. And I really appreciate everyone for helping.
Nicely done, chaps. Nicely done.
That being said, we have tonight had 25 people watching. So if you haven't donated yet, please consider doing so. I appreciate that, we are in difficult times. Energy bills and things are going through the roof. We're all struggling a little bit more for money. But if you do have a spare couple quid in your pocket that you're willing to donate, it'll be amazing. Obviously, there's the conditions that we've set in terms of entering into the raffle. I think it's a minimum £5 donation for the raffle. But any money we can raise, even if you've just got a spare couple quid in your back pocket that you're willing to just sort of lob our way for the RBLI, it'll be really, really appreciated. Because at the end of the day, the raffle is not intended as a competition per se. It's intending to, we're trying to raise money. That's what we want to do.
That's all we want to do. We're banging the drum to raise money for the RBLI.
Yeah.
So
it's just the raffle's just there as like a little sweetener to try and promote that.
Absolutely.
And the other thing as well is that if you are, we don't generally ask people to promote us because we don't. But if you really would be helpful if people could help promote our competition for this as well, or to promote the raffle and the donation to the RBLI. Mostly just we just want to raise more money. We want to get to that £500 target. I originally hoped we might hit £1,000. I don't think we're going to achieve that, unfortunately, but it'd be really cool to hit that £500 target and even just sort of slightly exceed that if we can.
100%.
So if you are able to share some of the adverts and bits and pieces we've got going out for that'd be really helpful, please.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't have put it better myself.
Thank you. So next week we are doing a general Q&A. Andy will hopefully be back
from Canada.
From Canada.
From Canada of United
Texas
States.
Canada. Do you know? I found a really interesting fact out this week, which I want to share. It's not Airsoft related. It'll be a bit of a random end to the show. So it was a documentary I was watching on IVF, right? And apparently, it was only 2019 that I think it was Indiana actually created a law that doctors were not allowed to use their own sperm without the patient's knowledge in IVF. 2019. Oh. It took until 2019 for people to go, we shouldn't be doing that.
2019?
2019. It was Indiana. Indiana, sorry.
So in Indiana, until 2019, doctors...
2019, Indiana was the first US... using their own sperm in IVF without the patient's knowledge. That was mental.
Only in America.
Yeah.
Land of the free.
It was really weird. That was just my US fact for the week. Also, Lance, you should show off your draw build, mate. It's definitely worth sharing. It's a banging job. Do you want to talk about that very quickly?
Thanks, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get some pictures for it up because I've done some bits to it. So I'll bring some pictures along next week to share with my truck and my little drawers in the back, which I'm very happy with because I'm not a carpenter and I was amazed that it stayed together. I was like, fucking it works. Oh my God. So yeah, that's cool.
Les says, what's the plan for the NoFo birthday? We're probably not going to be able to get the deck together this year that we were hoping to do.
Yeah, we want to do something cool, and we just haven't had the time this year to get it done with work and stuff like that. It's been a chaos, and lots of stuff going on.
So, however, what we started doing is planning next year's.
We've started planning next year's one, but we might get a little overnighter somewhere on the low key and just maybe cook a bit of food. Please, can we, Mike, Dad?
I'm up for that. Yeah,
we'll leave it with us, Les. We'll sort something out, mate. We'll sort something out.
Yeah, we could do a meal. That's the other option. I don't know. We'll sort something out. Basically, with the 100th episode and stuff like that, we've kind of been busy planning that. So
that's taken up a lot of time. Obviously, with the charity stuff as well that goes along with it, we've been sort of peddling that and sorting things out and the locations for the show. And so yes, but yeah, don't worry. We'll sort something. I'm not going to commit to that, but we'll try and sort something out. As much as we'd love to, because obviously it's banging. We love meeting up with everyone. It's wicked. So. Fingers crossed. We're not going to say no, and we're not 100% saying yes.
There are things in the pipeline. Put it that way.
There are things.
Marky Mark says this was going back to a few comments that we had previously. This is obviously talking about the collection of intel photos and the like. Depends if
Okay.
you're sending the pictures instantly and send via WhatsApp, for example. So that I haven't got a problem with that. I think it's if there's ever kind of any photos that are brought back from the field. Because I don't know. Again, it'll be interesting. I've not been to an active war zone myself, so I'm going to throw this out to the people that have.
I mean, I'm guessing that
is there much internet around for that? Like,
yeah, but they've got satellites and satellite phones. And,
yes, but
does the
average boot on the ground have that?
Well, I'm guessing so, because if that's the tasking they've been given, they should have the means to send it instantly to avoid that very situation. You know, if there's a chance that that kit's going to get nabbed, what are they going to do? They're going to destroy it, aren't they?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, the thing with the WhatsApp group, so, I mean, a few people, so Les says, on the Defiant event at Dog Tag, we had a name and had to search for him on social media to get a face. That was cool. Completely agree with that one. Harry says at Sterling had an event, WhatsApp group, no confirmed kill without proof, photo proof. We were hunted. We hunted about 5 HVTs throughout the event and sending photos back to 0. So I was obviously at the one with Les talking there about the Defiant one, and I have to say it was a bit crazy. In terms of so many people were just throwing photos into the chat, it almost just got a bit unwieldy, and I don't know if anyone actually was keeping track of that and kind of having that information. Something I would personally like to see is adapting that and bringing that forward one stage further and having a laptop there that actually they go, right, we've got this photo now, and then building your kind of intel board around that a little bit more. I think we had names on a whiteboard, which was very helpful, but we weren't building up like pictures of the game zone. So that would be something cool to see.
Defo.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Les says, I'd like to do a MilSim where you can't use nods or thermal, just go back to basics.
Yeah, mate. Cool. Well, it's like the Vietnam one we did at APOC a few years back. That was brilliant. It was so good. Rifle was a lot lighter anyhow. I think, did we have tack lights on there? I can't remember if we was allowed to use lights at least on our rifles, or whether it was just angled torches, like proper old school. I can't remember now. I think we were allowed lights. I can't remember.
I thought you had lights. I wasn't at the event myself, but I thought you had lights.
I think we had lights. Now I have to look back at some pictures, see if there's a light on my gun. If there ain't, we didn't.
Because those old school angle torches, you wouldn't see anything, would you?
They're only so. But I mean, that's what we had. We didn't have head torches. Everyone had a little angled lamp.
Yeah.
The old lamp with the filters in the bottom, which is still a cool light now. Yeah, it's still perfectly usable. You know, if you look at that, and it's quite good because it's like more of a yellow glow, and it's not like a big bright LED light. So, and if you put a filter in there, it does help a lot. It's really good.
300 detail batteries.
Yeah, weighs about 4.5 stone. This lamp hanging off your pocket, just dragging your shirt down there, running.
And then Les says t-shirts as well. So just an update on the t-shirts. We have
update. Les. I still ain't got mine yet, mate. So you'll be lucky.
T-shirts. We've concluded the testing on those. On the first batch that we found, we've kind of got around sort of 35 to 40 washes out of them before the armpits started to corrode a little bit. So we're just basically trying to find a decent t-shirt because obviously that affects the price. So we'll come up with something at some point. Yeah, cool. Right.
Sweet.
We'll see you all next week.
Q&A. I'll be late.
For a Q&A. So we'll be back at 8 o'clock next week. Feel free to join us. It's been great to see you. It's been lovely to see you tonight, and we'll see you all next week.
It's getting awkward.
Say goodbye, Lance.
Goodbye, Lance.
See you later.
Ciao.